All right, welcome everyone. We are absolutely lighting things up today with our electric blue themed explainer. So we're diving into something that is honestly a total game changer for how creators work. We're talking about using Claude to orchestrate NotebookLM to actually get professional grade content production. If you've been messing around with AI tools and feeling like the results are just kind of hit or miss, well, you're in exactly the right place. We are going to unpack the whole architecture of how to take those random AI outputs and turn them into a precise, targeted content machine. Now, I really need you to burn this golden rule right into your brain. Input quality determines output quality. This right here is the anchor for our entire explainer today. There's this super common myth out there that AI generation is just, pure magic. That you can just toss a messy pile of thoughts at a tool like NotebookLM and it'll somehow magically spin it into gold? Yeah, no, it won't. AI is literally just a process of structured inputs. It acts like a mirror. Garbage in equals garbage out, but absolute clarity in, that equals absolute brilliance out. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, preparing the source document. Second, prompting artifact generation. Third, maintaining format consistency. And fourth, our real-world proof. Starting right off with Section 1, preparing the source document structure first. So this is the foundation. And honestly, it's where the vast majority of creators make their first really fatal mistake. They get super eager, right? And they just skip the groundwork altogether. The weak approach is taking your raw, scattered notes and just dumping them straight into NotebookLM. And the result? You end up with this incoherent audio track or just a messy presentation where the topics are totally random. But the strong method changes everything. Before you even touch NotebookLM, you use Claude to process your notes. You actively ask Claude to take that raw text and structure it into a distinct narrative. Demand clear sections. Ask for distinct headings. Get an anonymous field story in there to really ground the theory. And make sure there's a definitive next step for your conclusion. Forcing Claude to build this highly structured script outline, it absolutely guarantees cohesion. Moving right along to Section 2, prompting artifact generation. Give clear directives. Okay, so once you have that pristine, perfectly structured source document, what actually happens next? Well, most people just type something super vague, like create a podcast or make a presentation. And when you do that, the AI just defaults to this generic, kind of middle-of-the-road summary. Why? Because it literally has no idea what tone to strike or which points actually matter to you. The strong approach, though, is entirely different. It uses precise parameters. You're basically handing NotebookLM a director's brief. Now, what's really interesting about this is the actual anatomy of a strong prompt. It requires those precise parameters. You don't just say, hey, make a podcast. You dictate the exact format, like specify that you want 2 hosts. You set the tone to be conversational. You target the length for, say, roughly 20 minutes. And here's absolutely crucial point number 4. You dictate the focus. Tell it to zero in heavily on a specific example in Section 3, for instance. And finally, number 5. Always include a specific call to action at the closing. When Claude writes up this incredibly detailed directive and you feed that into NotebookLM along with your structured source document, the generated output is aggressively targeted to your exact specs. But, here is where things tend to completely fall apart for creators who are trying to scale up. You've generated your audio, maybe you've got some visuals, an infographic, and suddenly realize something terrible. Why do your outputs completely contradict each other? Like, why is your audio focusing on one big takeaway, but your infographic is highlighting something entirely different? It's incredibly frustrating, right? Which brings us to Section 3, maintaining cross-format consistency using a single master directive. Look, if you're building a brand or an educational channel, you just cannot have your media channels operating in these little silos. You absolutely need unity. The weak approach here is prompting every single format individually. You ask the AI for audio on Monday, and then on Tuesday, you start a totally new chat and ask for an infographic. That causes absolute chaos in your messaging. The strong approach is using a single master directive. You use Claude to create one comprehensive directive file that references your perfectly structured source document. Then, whether you're making audio, visual slides, or an infographic, you tell the AI, hey, use this exact same source document and present the 3 main points in the exact same order with the exact same emphasis. This guarantees absolute harmony across every single piece of media you publish. And finally, Section 4, real-world proof, the field story. I know all of this can sound a bit highly theoretical, so let's just break the fourth wall for a second here. This explainer, literally the very one you are actively engaged with right now, is the proof. Every single visual you're seeing,
every single sentence I'm speaking to you right now was produced using this exact single source directive framework. We use Claude to structure our raw research, define the exact directives for the flow, and set the parameters for this narration. And it's all tied back to one master document. And I'll confess something to you guys. In our early days, we absolutely made the weak choices. We prompted our formats separately. It led to these awkward situations where our audio narration would be passionately highlighting one specific point, but the visuals were completely focused on a contradictory emphasis. It was just totally disjointed. But the moment we switched to the master directive approach, structuring the source first and then tying all the outputs back to it, that inconsistency vanished completely. Our current process ensures total, seamless harmony.
So let's wrap all these concepts together. Here are the 3 shared steps that will literally transform your AI outputs from a slot machine of random generations into a highly reliable, professional content pipeline. Step 1, structure the source document using Claude before you do anything else. Step 2, prompt clearly. Provide those exact parameters for format, tone, and focus. And step 3, maintain consistency by tying every single format back to that one master source. These teaches all feed into each other, right? You build the structure, you target the prompt, and then you lock in the consistency. I want to leave you all with this final, really vital question. Look at the content you're currently creating. Are your AI outputs random or are they targeted? Because once you implement the framework we've discussed today, you take the control back. Now, in our next explainer, we are going to apply this exact same mindset to an entirely new beast, and that's social media content production. You definitely won't want to miss how we adapt these parameters for the feed. If you found this useful, like this explainer and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.